Hello, everyone. How you doing? I'm doing all right. I just thought I'd come on here and talk about Summer Wells for a little bit. Summer Wells is a 5-year-old. She turned 6 since she went missing. But she went missing when she was 5 years old out of Hawkins County, Tennessee. If you know any information regarding her, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Anyways, sometimes I think it's really important to go back and discuss some things and to relook at some things. And as a reminder to everyone, there's a lot of stuff going on YouTube, regarding the sheriff, regarding different people that YouTubers want to come up with these ideas and think that other people are involved in this, Jody Sue videos. Now the sheriff's to blame. It was Don Sherriff, then it was this guy, it was that guy, it was everybody but Don and Candace Wells, That's what most of these YouTube creators have been putting out there. But I think it's good to, as a reminder, to go back and listen to a few things. And I think the district attorney had some really interesting things to say, so I was just going to let you hear this for a few minutes.
Health markets can explain new Medicare options, so you can get back to
well, we have to have an ad, Okay. 2. Okay. This is
Wells in the Beach Creek community. Now, as the 10-month mark is approaching, his role is...
Okay, this is the district attorney, and he's going to talk here for a minute, and I want you to hear what he said. This is Dan Armstrong.
Implications of the legal system and the law, but you
Hold on, sorry.
the possibility of charges.
It's a case that has implications of the legal system and the law, but you couldn't classify it right now as there's no criminal charges been filed.
Summer's older brothers were put into CPS custody last July, but no charges have been filed over their removal. However, their father, Don Wells, is serving time in the Hawkins County Jail over DUI and violation of probation charges.
This is a very complicated issue that has been made more complicated by the players in this drama.
No one has been arrested or charged in relation to the little girl's disappearance, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen at some point.
We make ourselves available to both the Sheriff's Office and the TBI to advise them as to the consequences of the next step that they're proposing to take and how we can do it to where if there is eventually a prosecution, it'll be what they gather will be something that would be that we can introduce in the court. Make sure we cover all those bases.
If an arrest ever does take place, that's when Armstrong will look at what charges can be filed.
If it ever got to the point where we were ready to consider charges, then of course they would talk to me about what charges and who to charge. And a case like this would generally go to a grand jury if it ever got to that point.
Armstrong declined to comment about Don Wells' current legal troubles.
So, I just want to discuss something right there. Mr. Armstrong, the man in charge, the district attorney, whatever, he just stated that they want something that they can present in court. They have to have something of Summers. I noticed that they do this in a lot of cases. They do this with this Quentin Simon. They haven't made an arrest because they want to make sure they have something they can bring into court. Also, he said that if charges come, these will go to the grand jury. So obviously he thinks that this is a serious enough case, and he did say that it has, the elements of which looks like a crime. So let's just let this finish out.
Even though he stays in touch with law enforcement about where they're at in this investigation, he's almost at a standstill in his particular role.
So they still believe, like they said, no abduction. So, but he did say that they have to have something that they can bring into court. I don't know if you caught that, but that's what he said. Let's go back to it for just a minute.
Say hello to New Jersey's the feel-good feeling of journeys.
This is a farm. No.
So many commercials, you know what?
So is this?
Okay.
For wells in the Beach Creek community. Now, as the 10-month mark is approaching, his role is looking ahead to the possibility of charges.
It's a case that has implications of the legal system and the law.
Implications
You couldn't classify it right
of a
now.
crime.
There's no criminal charges been filed.
Summer's older brothers were put into CPS custody.
Now listen to what he says
but
next.
No charges have been filed over their removal. However, their father, Don Wells, is serving time in the Hawkins County Jail over DUI and violation of probation charges.
Convict.
This is a very complicated issue.
Right here.
That has been made more complicated by the players in this drama.
No one has been arrested or charged in relation to the little
Now,
girl's
wait.
disappearance.
Here.
But that doesn't mean it couldn't happen at some point.
We make ourselves available to both the Sheriff's Office and the TBI to advise them as to the consequences of the next step that they're proposing to take and how we can do it to where if there is eventually a prosecution, it'll be what they gather will be something that would be that we can introduce in the court.
What they gather,
For all those bases.
If an arrest
what they gather will be something that they can use in court. So they need something to prove that this was a crime that they did. I mean, and it could just be a phone ping. It could be somebody, maybe one of the kids coming forward. One of Don and Candace's boys could come forward and say something to the cops. Again, we don't know. Now, this was Leslie Earhart in the TBI, and this was 1 year after Summer went missing. So let's just listen for a second.
Officer for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Before we get started, I want to stress that the investigation into the disappearance of Summer Wells is very much active and ongoing. Please understand, in order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we simply can't speak to specifics. We appreciate you being here today and your continuing coverage of this case.
They have
At
information.
approximately 6:30 p.m. on this day, 1 year ago, Summer Wells, who was 5 years old at the time, was reported missing from her bin in the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. When we held the first media briefing on June 16th, honestly, we expected to have good news to report by the time the next media briefing came around. Unfortunately, instead, day after day ended in frustration and disappointment. At that time, no one expected that we would still be searching for Summer 1 year later. We've said from the beginning that this case is outside the norm. There are few clues as to what happened to Summer, despite investigators doing everything within their power to find answers. All possibilities are still being explored. Many of you have asked for details about what's been done over the last year. I can tell you agents and detectives have spent thousands of hours on this case. Numerous search warrants have been executed, cell phone data has been analyzed, and any other available digital evidence has been collected, searched, and documented. This includes the social media accounts of those associated with Summer. 3 large ground searches have taken place in the last year with the assistance of more than 100 local, state, and federal agencies. Those searches do not account for the numerous targeted searches done by agents and detectives as they were following up on potential leads. From TBI alone, more than 100 agents Intelligence analysts and support staff from across the state have been involved in this case. TBI agents working alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have conducted nearly 170 interviews during the investigation. That does not count.
Wow, 170
hundreds of phone calls made
interviews.
to follow up on tips reported to law enforcement. While investigators have been diligently working to find answers, they've had to deal with thousands of tips generated by false information that in some cases has been intentionally spread across social media platforms. We know that this case has attracted the attention of individuals across the country who genuinely care about summer and want nothing more but to help us find answers. We appreciate those people. However, we are also aware that there are some people using this case for their own personal gain by spreading false information on social media posts as facts. Some go as far as to solicit donations. This has had a major impact on the investigation and not in a good way. Moving forward, we ask the public not to submit tips as a result of a video they viewed on YouTube or a theory they've seen posted on Facebook. Please help us and only call if you have direct, specific information about the disappearance of Summer. This investigation weighs heavily on us all, and I can promise you that no one wants answers more than we do, and we are not going to stop until we find them. I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson.
Good morning. As Leslie mentioned, we didn't expect this case to be going on a year later. It's heartbreaking to me and my officers and the entire community. We've never stopped looking for Summer. We'll continue to do so. There's never been a case in the history of Hawkins County Sheriff's Office that had officers working 365 days and had so many hours spent as we had in this investigation. Also, this office has never utilized so many different local, state, and federal agencies from across the state. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Federal Bureau of Investigation assist us in every step of this investigation. As you heard Leslie say, thousands of hours have been invested in finding Summer, thousands of them. 170 interviews have been done. Many of these individuals have spoken to more than one time. While we haven't said a lot about the details about the investigative actions that's taken place, please know that we've never stopped. I deeply appreciate the many rescue squads, the EMAs, and the volunteer fire department for their help. And the support from the citizens and the communities of this county is just unbelievable and overwhelming with the encouragement we get with the food during the searches we've done. And all the law enforcement officers, agencies throughout the state of Tennessee. It's just phenomenal how everybody pitched in and helped us with these searches and with this investigation. And many of you have asked why that we didn't recruit private citizens to assist in these searches. With the extreme dangerous terrain that we were experiencing in searches, we were able to monitor each group and movement in their location. That way we knew that everybody came back to the command post safely. After the initial searches, then we had to go back and obtain the landowner's permission to search again. We could not allow or even grant permission for private individuals on these people's property. And while I can promise you that we will continue to conduct targeted searches in the Beach Creek area as new information is developed, we'll also continue to follow up on any legitimate leads. And it's been the goal of this team since day one to find Summer. We've never stopped, we've never slowed down, we deal with it every day. And that's the whole purpose of this, to let you all know, despite what you hear, what you see, we haven't stopped. The men and women of these agencies have worked tireless hours and hours and hours. And I commend every one of them for the job they've done, and we're going to continue till we find something.
Okay. So, I know everybody's throwing the sheriff's name around on YouTube, and people need to really be careful, because if you're going to slander the sheriff's name and do videos and accuse him of things, then he might be able to have a lawsuit. I think he would be able to have a lawsuit against you. Defamation, slander of character, because he's a sheriff. I mean, come on. But, and some YouTubers have been sued. There are people that used to have channels that no longer have channels because they got sued by people for defaming them and slandering them on YouTube. So I think people should be really careful with talking trash about the sheriff. I understand his son's in trouble. His son, you know, he's got the predator whatever in him, you know, but say your child was really bad and your child did sick, disgusting things. Does that mean you're to blame for it? Does that mean that you have to be punished for what your child did? And that's what people are doing. Right now they're trying to punish the sheriff because his son is been accused of, you know, SA crimes or whatever. So I believe that the sheriff cares about Summer Wells. And I do believe that they've put a lot of time and effort into this case. And, you know, TBI are the people in charge, whether anyone wants to understand that or not. The sheriff, yes, he will go make arrests, but he's not in charge of this case. The TBI is. And when they get ready to make arrests and they get ready to do what they need to do, they'll go to the district attorney, and the district attorney will have them go to the sheriff to have Don and Candace arrested if they get charged with anything, because we don't know what will happen. But I do truly believe that they have to have something of Summers or something more. Like, I noticed in the Pike County murders, the Wagner family in Ohio, that court that's going on, you know, they use your phone in your text and they catch a lot of things. And I didn't realize it, but their phones were tapped, their houses were tapped. So Don and Candace's home or vehicles or anything could be tapped. And they could be listening to Don and Candace and everything they say and do. So, you know, when you think about it, Don and Candace aren't going anywhere. The police aren't going to let them go anywhere. And just because you haven't seen them arrested yet doesn't mean they won't be. Sometimes it takes a while. Look how long it took for Orrin and Orson West. It took quite a while for them, and they did not have anything. They did not have a body. All they had was a testimony from the kids saying, the other siblings saying that the parents made them hurt those little boys. So what I'm saying is, you don't know. You don't know what could come about in the Summer Wells case. Her brothers could, you know, decide to talk or explain some things maybe a little more. Maybe a certain text or a certain look at the Lori and Chad Daybell. They caught them in their texts and their pings and certain things. It all comes together eventually. So yeah, people that want to bash on the sheriff, people that want to bash on everyone it's ridiculous because the TBI, I think they're doing whatever they can. And I think this will be resolved eventually. I just don't know when. So I wanted to show you that. But I also, I want to bring up the point that, you know, Jody Sue, she did a video with the news and she talked about hearing the scream, her and her kids. Her and her kids were home. And even at 6 o'clock, before Summer was even reported missing, Jody Sue was at the end of her driveway, it says in this video, messing with her flowers. And she was texting Andy, and she's got text to prove it. So she's got her girl and her boy and her, and they're talking about the scream. But the thing is, I need somebody, if you really want to accuse Jody Sue, then you need to tell me how she managed to do all that with her kids and how they could have done something to Summer, because it's bull crap to constantly hear Jody Sue being attacked all the time. It's also now annoying, you know, that it was Don Sherriff and now it's, you know, someone else. But what I'd like you to see here is, okay, so I was listening because I hadn't never heard this body language guy, and under fair use, this video is just for discussion. I'm going to pause it here and there, and I'm going to talk about this, but I think he did a great job. But the words on the screen, I'm going to tell you, the closed captioning people don't even get the words right because some of them are wrong. But, you know, you're going to have to use your common sense. But I just want to show you some of this. And I want to recommend that you go to this channel and watch this entire thing, okay? So let's just, for a second, I want to point out some things from this. I don't know why that's not even the channel, I'm sorry. I don't know how I got on that. Okay, let's go.
I mean, go to the FBI.
Okay, before we go to the father's statement, there's a couple more things I want to say about the.
I had to get my volume.
This time. First of all, I don't notice in her face. We can have in this frame. We can spot. I don't know if you can spot at that exact moment. But if I zoom in, maybe the quality of the video will not allow you to see. We zoom in too much in a video. We're analyzing it. We're gonna lose detail. I think you can spot in this frame of the video. There's a very, very, very subtle expression of grief, and on her face, something that I noticed doesn't have almost any at all, like wrinkles or the lines or her facial expression. So that means one of two things. It could mean that she comes from a family where emotions were suppressed or repressed, and so she just lived to not expressing her emotions, and that's what is happening here. But having a missing child, having your child missing is something that is going to elicit a very strong emotion. And many people will say, we don't understand how this woman could be talking like that with her child still missing after so many days. And I don't know how many days was this interview
2 weeks.
The
2
girl
weeks.
was missing. But
or not even 10 days.
So, we could have the hypothesis that she could be in some tranquilizer or should be on some pills that like
she's stoned or drunk.
To suppress her emotions, to try to talk, to be composed, to be able to talk to the press. Because we have to take into account that we could think that to be able to talk to the press, she needed something to be able to articulate her words. Maybe it's possible. So those are moments when you cannot rely exclusively in body language, because body language may be, especially the face, may be compromised by medication. Maybe. You take into account.
But when you get to the end of this video, you'll see that they don't show any emotion, hardly any expression at all, which is really weird.
Body language. We also have to take into account the words that she uses and the dynamic with the father, so we can reach a better conclusion. But it's important to notice all things. My main goal, my most important goal, is that you learn to observe, have a system to observe body language, so you can use it the next time you have a conversation.
Okay.
Xanax and gabapentin, alcohol could be too, of course.
I mean, go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave
back
her head
and make
herself.
it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control, so we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad, and but
Let's move this along. That's not the part I wanted you to see.
right away.
I knew that right away, and I think there's a very subtle.
He gets really wiggly.
Yeah, a very subtle.
Watch Don in this clip right here, how wiggly he gets when he starts to talk about this. Let's move back just a minute. Watch.
Frame by frame.
Well, I knew.
Oh, we knew, I knew. He corrects himself. We knew, and immediately corrects himself to say, I knew.
Way that she was abducted, I knew that right away.
I knew that right away, and I think there's a very subtle, shoulder thrust there. It moves.
You got it right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning.
And that's what I told them from the beginning. I always have a problem with when people begin to say something that is critically important. This is very important. He said that he knows that it was an abduction, but at the same time he begins to look to the sides like he's not sure what he's saying. You have to compare with the other moments when he's talking. We're going to backtrack a bit, and we're going to try to make a comparison the way he uses his eyes when he's saying far less important things, and this moment when he's saying something very concrete, that he's absolutely sure that it was an abduction. Let's go back a bit and let's listen to that sentence again.
Look how wiggly he gets. He shrugs his shoulders.
So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long.
Not this part.
She shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her.
Notice also that his head is also pointing to the interviewer. His face is pointing to the interviewer. It's more like he's just talking about how his daughter used to cut her hair in a way like a boy, like the boys, like her mother that used to shave her head too. He's far more secure about that, most sure about that, about what he's saying. Like, it's very concrete. We know that this memory is true because we also have photographs of the girl with a shaved head. But when we go back to the saying, thanks Judy, you did right with a super sticker. Thank you, Judy.
You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, you know, I forget the word.
Investigation.
Okay. Again, he insists in the abduction, begins looking to the sides, has that subtle shoulder shrug. It has this tongue jut. It sticks his tongue out. The tongue out most of the time is something that you're not really sure of what you're saying. You do not completely agree with what you're saying, and you have to make a difference between using your tongue to moisten your lips and just making it stick out a bit. Like in this case, let's see, I think we can get to that tongue jut.
I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, you know, I forget the word.
Investigation.
That moment is the tongue jut. You project your tongue just right up front, and these are the things that I would like to ask. Why are you so sure it was an abduction? What made you think it was just an abduction? Because you're making a statement, and this is complementary or a complement to body language. You have to try to get in the person's head. It's not only what they're talking with their body language, what they're expressing with their emotions, with their facial expressions, with their body, because that is like external manifestation of emotion. The emotions can also be in the form of words, and there are some words also that the mom said before. I forgot to mention that. Let's listen to her again. And this is how an analysis, a body language analysis is. You have to go back, backtrack, spot something that one of the, for example, the father did and pointed to the mother and try to connect with something that the mother said and backtrack, I don't know, 7, 8 times until you spot what you're trying to look for. And you begin making sense, you begin noticing things, and you begin making sense of a story that is beyond our current. Okay. Current, like perception, we cannot trust only words, and even so, words can reveal things that they're saying. Wait, I'm gonna talk about the tense they talk. Present tense, past tense, future tense. Let's see.
Let me go back over and see your brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer. I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and
I'm just gonna move it up a little bit here because her story seems so full of it, you know.
To the point when the father was talking.
Hold on, I gotta go back just a little bit.
Tense, like if they're dead or they're no longer here. That begins odd because when people believe that their child is out there somewhere, they will talk about them in present tense. Like they're very happy, they're very I don't know, jumpy, or they like reading a book before going to sleep. They're gonna talk in present tense. If people describe their child in past tense, I don't know. That's really odd. That's a huge red flag. I'm not saying that automatically they will be guilty because they're talking like that, but it's not normal because they're talking the way they are thinking. Their words reflect their thinking and their feelings, and that's very important. That's something that you have to take account. I'm gonna jump forward a bit to the point when the father was talking.
Out of control, so we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head to
Okay, it's probably already listened to.
right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But
All right, two things. First thing is, we have to be aware of these changes in manners or these changes in voice or in facial expression, because you got words that let you make further questions. An easy question here: why are you so sure it was an abduction? It was a spot-on question. He didn't get that question, sadly. But it will be really, really important to make that question. And what he just said, I don't know if you got it, but I'm gonna backtrack and I'm gonna paraphrase what he just said here that also caught my attention. I'm gonna
to where
Investigation.
they have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything.
I'm sorry they had to spend so many man hours in these woods.
I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that
This sorry for the man doing the search for his daughter. That's something I just don't get. You should be
For real.
terrified, afraid of your daughter out there, not the man making the search. I understand the men making the search are doing everything they can. They're working in extreme heat. They are the conditions are not the best to make a search of that scope. But I think being worried about them, being ashamed, and being sorry about them making that search, it's the last thing I think a father should be saying or should be mentioning when he's talking about his missing child. I would like to know, what do you think? I would like to know what do you think? Yeah, like Back to Earth says here, who cares how many hours they spend? It's about how the child's life. I lost my mind when I lost my daughter in the shopping center years ago. She was 2. Thank God security was there. That's terrible. Also, one of the most terrifying sensations. Like you think you feel your heart stopping. It's terrible. Because they might find her. Yes, but this is something that I don't get. He says that, or there was the mother's what the mother said, that she was, I don't know. Let's wait until she says it in this video.
Neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house.
Okay, let's go back a bit in this part too.
Neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But
I want to move it up here.
His disappearance is not 100% important for him because he's concerned about the effort of the man looking for his child. That's not normal. Excuse me, but that is
It
not
isn't normal.
And he puts a lot of stress on the neighbors. You should know, you should be more concise or or more specific of what you're talking about your neighbors over and over again. That isn't important.
Well, they're good neighbors. He said he only hangs out with good people as his neighbors,
One is part of the system or the equation that we're gonna craft to get to a conclusion. So you cannot talk exclusively about body language. So in the
I'm going to go forward. I got to get up here.
We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can, and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as
Treat her like what?
ever.
Okay, this is really, really important. That's my baby, and no one will treat like that when I'm around. But okay, let's go back a bit and listen to it.
And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as
Treat her like what?
I was around.
Uh-huh.
All right, at this point, it's important to notice that she's expressly talking about Summer, and expressly talking about Summer. There is absolutely no grief in her brow.
No.
That's her regular brow expression. There's no grief like we saw at the beginning.
No grief, not grief.
Really, no. There's a bit. Sometimes there's a bit of tension in her left eyebrow. Okay, like this. Maybe it could be that she has some Bell's palsy, some facial paralysis. It could be that. But in other times of the video, namely we're here in 5:05 at the start, I know that I saw that. So at some point at the start, I saw that those brows in riff, a very subtle riff. I know that I saw it, but I can't remember. That's something that's also something that I do when I'm doing this analysis, that I have to just pause every 1 or 2 seconds and make annotations and what kind of and what kind of emotional marker am I watching and what could it mean, and that's when I begin like spotting patterns. When I look at all my annotations of the video, I have not made any annotations. I haven't even seen this full video. I just wanted to look at it with you, but I know I saw her brows and some grief expression at the beginning. I just can't spot it right now. I don't know if it was here, but it's really hard, because especially her right side of her face practically never moves. The cheek doesn't move.
Isn't that weird? It's true.
The forehead doesn't move. If you look at almost all the video, we fast forward a bit. There you can have a very subtle tension of a bit of anger here. You have a bit of tension in her right eyebrow, but that's it. And that must be the reason why her mouth is asymmetrical in that way. She must have some kind of paralysis of this side of the face, but that doesn't explain why she sometimes has movement on her left eyebrow, but doesn't show grief with that side of her face. That's important to consider. So we were in 5:05, jump to 5:05 now.
Yeah, it still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around. Ever.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand."
Oh, what's that?
She's giving Donnie a dirty look, is what that is.
She's smiling?
No, she's giving Donnie a look.
Is that a smile? Oh my God.
Yeah, it is kind of a smile.
It's a very creepy expression, but
It is creepy.
Actually, What do you think about this expression? Yeah, it looks like a dupe in the light. We can still see that her right side of her face. We can. I cannot do it. I don't know how to do it right now. And her right side, the right side of her face is still like doesn't move at all. You can make an experiment of just covering the left side of her face and watching just the right side of her face, and it is not moving. But at the same time, the left side of her face is giving away a very creepy look at that time. Like
Her right side.
her husband is starting to talk at that moment, and she thought that the camera was not pointed at her at that moment. So maybe that moment, if you remember my Derrick Jackson video, those moments are very critical, and people think that the camera is not on, or it's not on yet, or it's not pointed at them, and this is a very, very, very odd, like an expression that doesn't fit with anything about nothing that she has said over the last 5 minutes.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by a New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of her.
She loved or she loves? That really creeps me out.
She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
No emotion.
She loved to dance. In past tense, she loved to dance. That's what I meant earlier when I told you that there were two scenarios. One, if they're talking a very specific past occurrence or something that happened in the past, it's normal that they're talking past tense. But if they're talking about one particular characteristic of the child that she loves to dance, it's normal that she thinks that she's alive, she's still alive, they're searching for her, so it's normal to talk about her in present tense. But in this case, she says she loved, in past tense, loved to dance. So that's something that really, really creeps me out.
Creeps me out
She
too.
liked to think of herself.
Okay. I'm going to stop it there. Because I'm telling you, this video's going to be too long if I continue to go with it. But I want you to go, please watch that whole channel. That whole video. And you can see that Don and Candace in that video have no emotion. Hardly nothing whatsoever. And yes, we can give them the excuse that they were drunk and stoned, but not really. When you're depressed and you drink, because I used to when I was younger, I drank. And my mom would only drink once a year, and she'd go to a wedding. And if she was down, if she drank like 2 beers, she'd be crying in her beers. So what I'm saying is, it even makes your grief or your emotions worse. And so, it's really hard to comprehend that these two are sad over their daughter missing. He does mention in this video that they never say your name. They always call her she. Also, he makes mention in this video that that there is no emotion in these two, and there's so many red flags in this. And, you know, I'm sorry. Once again, I'm just going to say to everyone out there who want to follow these YouTube channels, who want to get on the bandwagon and blame the sheriff's son, blame Don Sherriff, blame Jody Sue, blame whoever they can blame for thinking that Summer was abducted and that she was taken out of there. That is so far from the truth. Even the TBI and the Sheriff Department don't believe in any abduction, and I don't either. There's no evidence of any abduction. The police didn't even believe Jody Sue's scream because they do not find any evidence whatsoever of an abduction. So I just thought I'd come on here and share this with you. I think it's really sad. Don's going to be out of jail any day. Their court hearing for child services is supposed to be the 28th. And Don's supposed to get out like the next day or 2 days after that. So like I said, I pray the court does not give those boys back to Don and Candace. And if they do, there'll be an outcry from YouTube like you won't believe, because I'll be right in the front line waiting to call Tennessee Child Protective Services and ask them what they're doing and why they would allow that. But I don't think they are. I have a feeling that maybe, let's pray, maybe they'll be charged with criminal charges, Don and Candace, when it comes to this hearing with the children, because maybe they will press charges against them for, whatever. They may have to face that. I do not know, because we know that Don and Candace did not complete any kind of drug and alcohol, services. They didn't do anything to get their life in order. They got drunk and they carried on. And as soon as Don gets home, he'll start partying and drinking. You just give him a little bit of honeymoon phase. Give Don and Candace about maybe a week to 2 weeks till they start getting drunk and fighting. And then all hell's gonna break loose, I bet ya. So once Donnie Boy starts seeing some videos and things that Candace said, and he's going to be happy to be out of jail, and he'll try to stay on the straight and narrow for about a week maybe, if even that. So, and I'm sure Don and Candace will have their little honeymoon phase, Toxic people in toxic relationships, they always go through that kind of a honeymoon stage. They missed each other, they're toxic, they're alcoholics, so they feed off each other, and that's why people like that stay together. You gotta be an alcoholic to live with an alcoholic, I think, because they're really difficult. Drug addict and alcoholic people are difficult to live with. I know that I dated somebody like that before, and they were alcoholic and not good. But yeah, I suspect these Don and Candace will be getting out there pretty soon. We'll be hearing from them soon. So, but anyways, I wanted to tell all of you I love you, thinking about you. I don't know why. I hope they find Quentin Simon pretty soon, that poor little baby boy. And I hope his mother and his grandmother, the whole lot of them, are arrested, I hope. And all those people out there protesting are ridiculous, and they all need to be arrested too. They're foolish. It's so stupid. It's all for clicks and likes and money. And all of you who sit and watch that and follow that, all you're doing is causing the same kind of harm, because you're viewing it and you're sending money to them. That's money. When they're getting views, that's money, and that's attention. And if I was you, I wouldn't follow those people that are harassing all these people in these crimes. They're gonna crack down on these people. But anyways, it'll be interesting, won't it, in a couple days, what we hear any day now with Don and Candace. So, I also want to say this one thing before I get off here. You know, people act like, well, the sheriff's son didn't get a bad punishment. Well, let me tell you, 19 years of being on supervised parole is not fun either, because most of the time they have to wear an ankle monitor. Most of the time they have to be in the house by 6 o'clock or 9, unless they have a meeting or something, or 9 o'clock. They can't be out. They have to always be there. When their probation officer calls, their beeper will go off if they're in places they're not supposed to be. So they're heavily monitored, whether you want to realize it or not. All registered sex offenders are monitored. And if he even does one thing, then he'll have to do the full term. So he can't get in trouble, the sheriff's boy. He could get in trouble, but if he does, then he's going to have to face the full term. But he's on 19 years of supervision. That's a long time. And it's very hard not to mess up, you guys. So when you're under watch that long. So, but anyways, please don't fall for a bunch of that nonsense. Summer Wells was not abducted. Her parents did abduct her, but they did not come home that day, and they took her somewhere, and they met somebody and gave her to someone. So, or they hurt her themselves, but they took her somewhere. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? They put her new outfit on her that she got for school, even though this is June, the beginning of summer. Why would you why would you even buy summer a school outfit in June? But anyways, she had her new outfit on. She had a fun day. Looked like she was drugged in the back. And then I believe she was transported off, and her mom did a video as a proof of life. That's my opinions. These are only my opinions on this video. I'm not monetized, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So, anyways, I hope you all have a good day. I know this is a long video, but in order to get everything on here, that's how it turned out. But I'll talk to everyone soon, okay? Keep praying for Summer Wells. Keep your eyes open. Excitement will be happening. All right, bye.